One Shot Wonders Volume 2 has over 100 new adventures for D&D 5e and any fantasy RPG. But is this sequel to an award-winning project like Terminator 2 or Jaws 2? Hello and welcome to CrowdQuest, the show where we explore tabletop RPG books and gear currently crowdfunding on Kickstarter or BackerKit to find out whether or not it's worth your coin. If you love this idea, be sure to like the video, comment, and share it with your gaming group because you can't see it, but the YouTube algorithm is just out of frame, threatening to torch my apartment. And today we got some special samples to check out, but as usual, we'll be starting with the trailer, then the complete campaign info and rewards, and closing with my final thoughts on what kind of player should back this project. And please note that if you do choose to support this project using my referral link down in the description, I will receive a commission, which in turn supports this video series, but I'm not being paid in any other way for this review. And remember, we'll be dubbing this trailer to avoid any YouTube music copyright. Game Masters, your favorite shortcut to unforgettable D&D adventures is back. And what just happened? Okay, hold on. I'm distracted by the captions knowing I need to dub this thing. We just had a tentacle reach out of a pot and its ladle was stolen by a bird in a minecart. Now that's a quest hook. Alright, multi-award-winning collection that saved you hours of prep returns with Volume 2. Right, because this is a good sequel. Over 100 brand new one-shots, stunning original art, and you don't want to miss it. Kickstarter, FOMO, uh-oh. Each adventure fitting on 2 pages or less is my favorite thing. Maybe you don't need to watch the rest of the video now. JK, I actually do have some spicy tidbits about this that you're gonna want to hear. What a stunning trailer here also. I feel like every Kickstarter trailer ever is artwork from the book of characters and monsters just kind of twisting and stretching around, whereas this is a genuine 3D animated trailer. Explore a city tavern crawling with mimics, board the ship of a famous genie smuggling crew, compete in a prestigious camel jousting tournament, but for the first time, you'll journey to the eerie Shadow Realms, bleak landscapes. Were those like UFOs? Oh no, those are like chandeliers twisting in the air. Or step into the Fey Realm, a place of glittering forest and mischievous spirits. And it doesn't stop there. The award-winning map library is also expanding. Over 30 new maps, plus reusable stickers to customize your battles like never before. And actually, I do just want to show the credits here for a second longer, because that was really impressive. Animation and modeling by Alice Robin Torkar, and video produced by 12-Sided Studios. Okay. Well. One important thing to note right away that you might have already noticed, or definitely if you would have seen this page, you might have already backed this because it's doing amazing. 10 days into the campaign, and they're already at about $500,000. Here's one of my spicy tidbits, in fact. The day this launched, when I saw they had hit $200,000 or $300,000 or something, I shared a link to this in one of the Discord servers I'm in with a couple other YouTube creators and some publishers and stuff. And one of the folks in that server, gonna do a little name drop here, okay? It's just gonna happen, is Mike Merles, creator of 5th edition. And Mike Merles replied to my message being like, wow, that just made my day to see this 5e project being so successful, this far into 5e's lifespan. I know we just had a rules update, but honestly, from the Kickstarter data, 5e projects have kind of been taking a turn for the worst. And so to paraphrase what he said, which was more or less like what I said in my initial message, it is so cool to see a project with such and I'm not trying to undersell it here, a simple offering, 100 one-shots, each one on a spread, but done so well that it's probably gonna make, or at least get close to, $1 million by the end of this campaign. But now let's see why it's working. Our products are written and illustrated by humans. That's nice to know in 2025. So sure, what's the history here? Back in 2023, only 2 years ago, we launched One Shot Wonders Volume 1, a book of D&D adventures that solved the biggest GM headaches at the table. Everything you needed was right there on 2 pages or less, and you could prep an entire adventure in just 30 minutes. I'm always skeptical when a publisher says how long a thing will take. It's just so different from one GM to another. I guess it's worth saying that you could prep an entire adventure in just 30 minutes. It won 3 awards, sold tens of thousands of copies, and quickly became a staple for game masters everywhere. Now we're doing it again, 100 brand new adventures for Volume 2. Like, if I have any major critique of this that I'll probably repeat toward the end of the video, it's that in 2 years, has anyone run all 100 of these adventures? But that's more like my personal gripe with anthologies, so yeah, we like touch on that at the end of the video. Here's a testimonial from a customer. This is a thought-out collection of well-made adventures. You can absolutely tell the authors genuinely cared about making every scene great, and that sort of thing seems apparent when I hear they have a camel jousting tournament. Super original idea. And it says designed for D&D 2024 rules. Now, that's another thing we should take a closer look at. They're supposed to be compatible with anything. But they got 2 new chapters/environments, the Fey Realm and Shadow Realm, expanded lore for, I guess, a world that they're building out here, Mirabilis. Every chapter ends with a challenging high-level adventure. That's really cool. Actually high-level play in D&D 5e, what? All new illustrations, map library expansion, new add-ons like enamel pins. I raise an eyebrow at enamel pins because Grace World Destroyer is a collector of enamel pins. And of course, if you're new, why not buy both books? You gotta say that. And they have a featured pledge level here, which seems like the perfect example of what I was just saying. Go all in is always the approach. Every environment type. Bold claim, because like, you know, they're going to make a 3rd book with more environments. Level 1 to 8 quests, but then legendary chapter with levels 9 to 20. And as this testimonial says, it really does just look good. But what's this map library I've been hearing about? Their Gold Any award-winning collection of 100 battle maps hand-drawn by Venatus Maps. Whoa, okay. So one of the special things I wanted to point out was that Venatus Maps is the creator who I supported for years on Patreon at a tier to get commercial use of their maps, so I could use them in my own 5e one-shots that I published on my Patreon for years. I had no idea that Venatus Maps was also in Heliana's Guide and Crooked Moon, like 2 of the most, just the biggest D&D Kickstarter campaigns ever. Wow. You can kind of see why something like this map book could be like the main product you might want, actually, because those maps could probably be usable for lots of different adventures. I roll my eyes a little anytime a tabaxi looks like anything except a jaguar or a lion. You can watch it played, so we're not going to dive into another video here, but if you'd like to see, apparently High Rollers did a session with this. Why is it that collector's edition books actually always look better? Maybe it's just the more minimal aesthetic of them. They got Matt Mercer, dude. If they funded a spot on Critical Role, oh my gosh. They really dug deep into expenses to advertise this thing then. Pledge levels. So you can pledge for the digital book £25 sterling or 34 USD. Or you can get the hardcover book at $54, plus your name in the credits at this tier, and you get the PDF. So that's a pretty sweet deal. But here's probably where most people backed. Book and map bundle, $100. You get the anthology book and the PDF, the map library book, and a PDF of that, and your name in the credits. Then a digital bundle, same price for those same 2 books, plus 12 pre-generated character PDFs and a Quest Mega Deck PDFs. Collector's edition and PDF, okay. Whoa, but wait a minute, $100 just for the other cover. So double the price for the collector's edition. So yeah, if you want the collector's edition, it makes more sense to get the bundle. As someone who has run a single Kickstarter, I feel like I'm learning a lot just by scrolling through this. And then here's One Shot Heroes. I think this is the one they encourage everyone to do, so it's everything we've seen thus far. Plus dice, plus the physical Quest Mega Deck, plus the collectible enamel pins. Oh man, don't tell Grace World Destroyer. 2 Shot, 2 Wondrous. They got the bird guy on here. That's fantastic. Our community asked for it and we couldn't resist. 2 Shot, 2 Wondrous. A one-shot all about bandit street racing inspired by the Fast and Furious movies. It's a fast-paced and chaotic adventure made for thrill seekers. If you love cinematic, over-the-top adventures, this is one you won't want to miss. I do love a good race. I wrote and ran a dinosaur racing one-shot for my group at the start of our Tomb of Annihilation campaign, and it's easily one of the favorite single sessions of D&D that I've ever run. And here's the Quest Mega Deck, an absolute beast. 200 cards of instant adventure hooks. This is something we've all seen before. My honest take on that is like, these always seem really useful, but unless you're really comfortable improvising, they're not that useful. It says here, one side shows you a pinned quest, other side gives you a quest summary to help you run it. But like, minimal guidance is going to fit on that card, So I think they really nailed the scale of giving you minimal but enough info with the double page, 8.5 by 11 spread. I think that's where it's at. This is probably a good tool to get better at improvising by introducing something like this in your game, but as a nervous Nancy DM myself, I'd be more interested in the book than the cards. Dice set looks cool. The pins do look cool. Screaming Bird and Frumpy Cat. This is almost like targeted marketing at Grace World Destroyer. And a GM screen. Does look very nice. Here's the team. Love a good team photo. They have matching hoodies. Adorable. Okay, this is what I wanted to see. Project timeline. Digital fulfillment, October 2026. Physical fulfillment, November 2026. Okay, yeah, never mind. So they're going to have the book completed between the end of this year and spring 2026. And they're just not going to send out the digital stuff until they're sure about those physical samples. Fortunately, we do have some samples to flip through physically today. However, we are going to start with a little insider, maybe business. Is this a business secret? If you ever see influencer, content creator, whatever, holding the brand new product being advertised in a Kickstarter campaign, chances are, as in this case, it's just a prop. So yeah, if we open this up, literally nothing, just a completely blank book. But what you'll see as we flip through the actual book here of the first one, these do seem quite compatible with any fantasy RPG. So when they say the new one's going to be updated for D&D 2024, I'm not actually sure what that's going to mean. All these different environments, right? Out in the cold, on the coast, under the sun, so kind of flavorful names instead of just putting Arctic, coast, desert. And they do have this separate chapter for legendary adventures. So maybe these do only go 1 to 8 each. We'll check it out. So below our introduction, we actually have this pretty handy section called Getting Ready to Play, which is just a really 5-step checklist for how to prep by flipping through the book, choosing an adventure there. Then you're flipping through, looking at the major elements in a section, I guess, called the session plan. Familiarizing yourself with the monsters of the session, gathering any maps, minis, copies of the system itself, dice, stationery, and snacks, and I suppose optional, giving your players a pre-gen character. And I like how they mention this. Keep an eye on the time. So these are their during the session tips, and I always find this is super important when running a one-shot because famously, they often go over a single session. And on this page, they've more or less laid out how the adventures are structured, just kind of indicating the different sections you'll see here, how it's all broken down, how they've condensed everything into a single spread. So we'll have a theme, an objective, and a setting right here, a box of important characters, key locations, secrets and clues. Whoa! Mike Shea Sly Flourish alert. That tells me they have even cooler inspirations for this book than I thought. I love this, a little arrow for starting the adventure, telling you exactly how to begin. I find that can be really important for a module. Indicating our levels here, and I really want to point out these quick monster stats. So they just list a bunch of dinosaurs here with their AC, hit points, initiative, and a key ability, but no other mechanics for how that ability or how any of their abilities might work. And so their recommendation here is really just, if you see anything with mechanics, such as a creature, magic item, or spell, just replace it with something similar from your game of choice. They have advice on scaling the adventures, and this is a really cool section. If you have new players, try one of these 3. If you want an adventure with a secret twist, try one of these 3. Just telling you specific adventures to jump to, that's a great idea to make the book actually more usable than your average anthology book. And after that quick intro, we get right into our first environment. And if we just glance at this one here, we can see those similar things, our theme, objective, and setting. We got starting the adventure right here with a nice read aloud block of text. We got quick stats for 5 different monsters. I really like, although it's a bit hard to see, I'll raise the book again, this fine bit at the bottom telling you, okay, this first scene, you're gonna meet these NPCs. Then you're gonna travel to the lake. Then you're gonna have this polar bear encounter. then you're gonna find the mother, but then you're gonna fight some poachers, and then you're gonna camp until dawn. So kind of a relaxed ending there, it seems, but nonetheless, just laying out that very simple outline is great stuff. Now, I just jumped to the last spread in this chapter. We have 2 quests, so fitting on a single page each, and interestingly, we see that these quests taking up only half the amount of space, right, are actually our higher level adventures. These are both level 7 to 8. So this time we're using the bottom of the page for the level indicator rather than that flowchart like we saw before. Now I'll just flip through while I'm chatting for a minute here. I believe that data shows most people play D&D 5e adventures up through around level 12, and that is why D&D themselves cap their campaigns typically around that level. That is also why Baldur's Gate 3 was even like, you're only going up to level 12 or 13 max or something. But ya boy personally really only likes D&D 5e up to around level 7 or 8. That's really where I tend to max out and like, all right, I just kind of can't handle the crunch anymore. So I admire that they've decided to cap each of these sections at around level 7 or 8. But then apparently in the back, we're going to have this chapter of legendary adventures. So let's check that out. So Teacher's Pet says 9+ and otherwise follows our same format of just fitting on a single spread. Dragon's Cage is 11+. All right, yeah, this is what I want to see. What do they get up to? 13+, 15+. 17+ for Games of the Gods, and 19+. Do they still go? No, that's it. That's where they kind of cut it off. All right, gang, we almost missed it. By we, I mean us. We're in this together, clearly. They did have this free sample plugged on the page here, so I want to make sure we see this sample from the new book as well, not just from the old book. And here it is, right? A single spread adventure featuring our little minecart, almost said Minecraft, minecart bird friend on an enamel pin that I know Grace World Destroyer would love. Maybe I can get him to send me the pins. Comment below if you want Roleplay Press to send Grace World Destroyer the bird pin. I don't know how much power we wield here, guys, but we gotta push the limits. So this adventure is called Ruffled Feathers, and we can see that it does follow the same format of our previous ones. We have our theme, our objective, and our setting right at the top, our little summary. The party is hired to help with a cleanup operation after a recent rock slide in Black Soot Mine. They're joined by the mine's jumpy safety officer who sees danger everywhere. If they dig a little deeper, the party will discover there's a good reason to be alarmed. Starting the adventure, right, we begin with this text immediately. And to pause for a second, I'm feeling so validated by this, because even though I did not execute it nearly as well, some of these things are exactly what I tried to do with the one-shots the 5e one-shots that I made and put on my Patreon. They always had like a, when you begin the adventure, blah, 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 and usually just starting with some text to read right away. They had the little summary of basically the flowchart down here at the bottom. Anyway, what I really want to look at with this sample, and I'm kind of seeing/not seeing it immediately, is what do you mean updated for D&D 2024? The only stats shown here anyway are just like what we saw in the previous book. AC, HP, initiative, and a key ability just named. No 5e mechanics explicitly spelled out here. So at most, I think the update, actually here's where I see it reflected, right? Here's the tough. That is a new D&D 2024 monster. And so some of these ACs and HPs and initiative modifiers might have been updated as well. I don't know if like the Rust Monster's AC was actually 13 in D&D 2014, whatever. And truly, for me still, a super inspirational way to write adventures. Because I've kind of sworn off writing for 5e with how crunchy and ridiculous the writing has gotten, with now like the capitalization of terms being all over the place. If you want to try to match that as a third-party publisher, it just adds like probably hours of work that is so tedious, and even the reader probably doesn't really care. So seeing a D&D 2024 supplement laid out with such simple writing and mechanics and in such a unique and original format, yeah, I find this inspirational. Now, to leave you with my final thoughts on what kind of player should back this adventure. Clearly to me, if you really do love D&D 2024 rules and you need, like you're the kind of GM and or player who needs those explicit, just kind of pedantic level of detail in your mechanics to tell you what to do, this is not for you. This gives very broad stroke language around mechanics, but very specific guidance for how to actually run the adventure. So it totally appeals to the kind of player/GM that I am. However, the other side of this coin is what I hinted at toward the beginning. Anthologies, man. As a sort of minimalist person in my collecting, ignore all the stuff I have over here. Anthologies have just never proven to like be what I want them to be, where I'm actually going to run it even more than half of the stuff in them. However, if I'm gonna own an anthology book, this one book packs 100 whole adventures into this little bit, taking up not that much space on my shelf. And they can apparently work with any fantasy system. And even for the main system that they're technically written for, they only go up to the level that I normally stop my game at. Yeah, I'm feeling like the people at Roll and Play Press, we are kindred spirits in terms of how we run 5th edition anyway. But what do you think? Are you one of the 4,000 people who have already backed this book? Or are you somebody who's gonna go back it right now using my referral link in the description so they know who sent you? Again, I do earn a commission from that link, which helps the channel, so thank you for that support. Did I say keep building at the end of the last one of these videos? I don't know. Bye?